Do you really think you're free?
Be honest with yourself. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? You grab your phone, right? You start scrolling, looking for something. Anything to stimulate your brain. A new notification, a short video, a meme, maybe a tweet. It's automatic. And then coffee. A quick hit of dopamine. Another video while you sip. Maybe music to kill the silence on your way to school or work. You're consuming content constantly: podcasts, social media, news, entertainment, ping, ping, ping. And in those rare moments when things go quiet, what happens? A strange feeling creeps in, that uncomfortable silence, a whisper of boredom, maybe even emptiness. So, what do? You reach for another distraction, another shot of quick pleasure. Here's the truth. The problem isn't pleasure itself. Pleasure is natural. It's how we evolved. It helps us survive, it motivates us. But what happens when pleasure stops being a tool and becomes the prison? What if the need to always feel good turns us into addicts chasing an endless cycle of instant gratification? This isn't a new idea. Back in the 1930s, Aldous Huxley warned us in Brave New World, while George Orwell imagined a future of brutal oppression in 1984. Huxley envisioned something even more chilling, a world where no one needed to be forced into submission. People would be so entertained, so overstimulated, that they wouldn't even want to rebel. They'd love their own servitude. And look around, what do you see? We live in a society obsessed with entertainment, a culture that glorifies constant pleasure. We chase comfort, distraction, instant happiness. But at what cost? Are we really free? Or are we stuck in a system that uses pleasure as a leash? That's what we're going to explore in this video. How modern society uses pleasure to manipulate us. How this addiction to feeling good might be turning us into something we never expected. Willing slaves.
Still think you're in control of your mind?
Then keep watching, because what comes next might just change how you see the world. Let's go deeper. The most effective kind of slavery doesn't need whips, chains, or threats. It doesn't need surveillance cameras. It just needs pleasure. When your life revolves around the next dopamine hit, you don't need to be forced into submission. You'll walk there yourself, smiling. And that's exactly what Huxley predicted. In Brave New World, no one asked questions. No one challenged the system. Why? Because they were always entertained. They never had to sit with their thoughts. They never had to feel pain. The minute discomfort appeared, they had the perfect solution: soma. One little dose and everything was better. But let's get real. How different is that from today? Whenever you feel anxious, bored, or upset, what's your first instinct? Do you sit with that emotion? Do you explore it? Or do you scroll? Do you binge another show, eat something, buy something, swipe right? The list is endless. Social media, junk food, streaming platforms, online shopping, porn, games, alcohol. Every single one designed to give you a hit of dopamine the moment you feel even slightly uncomfortable. And it feels like your choice, doesn't it? No one's forcing you to do it. No one's standing over your shoulder yelling, scroll, consume, escape. But if it's really your choice, why is it so hard to stop? That's what we're going to unpack next. Because once you understand how this cycle works, how deeply you've been conditioned to chase pleasure and avoid pain, you might just see that your so-called freedom was never yours to begin with. So why is it so hard to stop? Why, even when you know you should be doing something productive, does your hand just drift to your phone? Why does your brain crave that next notification, that next hit of stimulation like it's oxygen? Here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not an accident. You were trained to be this way. From the moment we're born, we're taught, sometimes subtly, sometimes blatantly, to avoid discomfort. School doesn't teach us to question, it teaches us to memorize. The workplace doesn't reward deep thought, it rewards output. And while all of that is happening, entertainment floods in from every direction, keeping your mind constantly busy, constantly occupied. Put all that together and you get a society where the real danger isn't some dictator silencing free speech. The real danger is that no one cares about free speech. No one's interested in thinking for themselves because they're too busy being entertained. Huxley saw this coming. In Brave New World, people didn't need to be silenced. They were trained to love their own imprisonment. From the time they were infants, they were bombarded with messages in their sleep. Literal sleep learning. Phrases like, everyone belongs to everyone, or a gram of soma solves everything, repeated over and over until they were hardwired into their brains. Now fast forward to today. No sleep learning, right? But we've got something else. Social media algorithms, ad targeting, binge-watching platforms and dopamine loops that do the exact same thing. They train your brain to seek stimulation constantly, endlessly, without question. Every time your phone buzzes with a like or a comment, dopamine. Every time a video plays, automatically dopamine. Every time you get a little hit of pleasure without effort, it reinforces the idea that this is how life works. And the scariest part, it feels normal. This conditioning shapes how we think, how we feel, how we behave. You get praise when you conform. You're validated when you avoid discomfort. You're rewarded for not thinking deeply. So what's the result? We're seeing a generation of people who genuinely struggle to be alone with their own thoughts, who panic at the slightest sense of boredom, who confuse silence with emptiness and distraction with purpose. And when you reach that point, you don't need control. You are control. You've been softened, made pliable. You're easier to manipulate, not because someone's holding you at gunpoint, but because you've given up your ability to resist. And resistance starts with thinking, with sitting in discomfort, with choosing not to distract yourself every time things get a little too real. Because here's the deal, rejecting discomfort might feel good in the short term, but long term, it makes you weak. When you run from boredom, you lose your ability to focus. When you numb sadness, you lose your ability to grow. When you flee from pain, you never learn how to build strength. Pain isn't just something to endure, it's something that teaches, that shapes, that transforms. It's how you develop resilience, courage, depth. But if every difficult emotion is met with a swipe, a snack, or a scroll, what happens to your strength? It fades. Slowly. Quietly. Until one day discomfort feels unbearable. Conflict feels impossible. And every challenge feels like a personal attack. And that's the point. That's the goal of a system that thrives on your dependence. Because a society full of strong, self-aware individuals who can sit with pain and grow from it, that society isn't easy to control. But a society full of dopamine-chasing, comfort-addicted consumers, that's the dream. And that's how the trap closes. Now, what if I told you there's a way out, that you don't have to stay stuck in this cycle? In part 3, we'll talk about how to break free, how to replace the addiction to pleasure with something more powerful. Let me know when you're ready for the final part. So, how do you break the cycle? How do you take back control of your mind in a world that's constantly trying to hijack it? Let's be real, this isn't easy. The system is designed to keep you distracted. It wants you addicted to the next hit, the next scroll, the next empty high. Your attention fuels it. Your dependence feeds it. But there is a way out, and it starts with awareness. Step 1. Voluntary deprivation. No, this doesn't mean you need to become a monk or give up everything that makes life enjoyable. It means choosing to regulate your exposure to pleasure. Being intentional about what you consume, how often and why. Take breaks from social media, turn off notifications, say no to the constant noise. When you do, something strange starts to happen. Your brain begins to reset. That constant craving starts to dull. You start finding joy in real things again, quiet moments, simple tasks, actual human connection. You're not cutting out pleasure, you're reclaiming it. Step 2. Relearn how to sit with discomfort. This might sound boring, even painful, but it's essential. You need to teach your mind that it's okay to be bored, to be frustrated, to feel lonely. You don't need to escape every negative emotion the second it appears. Go on a walk without music. Eat a meal without watching something. Sit in silence for 10 minutes and just breathe. It's hard at first because your brain is used to constant stimulation, but slowly it gets easier. And in that space, real thinking begins. You start hearing your own voice again. Step 3. Question everything. Why do you need to scroll every time you feel anxious? Why do you feel incomplete without your phone in your hand? Who profits from your addiction to distraction? Start asking questions and don't stop. Because the more you question, the more you begin to see how many of your habits, beliefs, even desires weren't really yours to begin with. They were programmed, repeated, reinforced. But awareness gives you power. And that brings us to the most important step of all. Step 4. Replace pleasure with purpose. Remember this, pleasure is cheap, it's easy, it fades fast. But purpose builds you. It's not a dopamine hit, it's a direction. So, ask yourself, what matters to you? What are you here to build? Who do you want to become? You won't find those answers on a screen. You won't get them in the next notification. You'll find them in stillness, in effort, in reflection, in moments where you choose to feel instead of escape. And here's the kicker. When you begin walking this path, when you start living with purpose, people will notice. Some will be inspired. Others will be uncomfortable. Because your growth reflects what they're trying to avoid in themselves. And some will try to pull you back. They'll say you're overthinking it, that you should relax, that life is meant to be enjoyed. But you already know the truth now. Pleasure without meaning isn't freedom, it's a cage. A beautiful, comfortable, dopamine-soaked cage. So the question is, what will you choose? Will you keep chasing short-term highs, or will you choose long-term fulfillment? Will you keep distracting yourself, or finally face what's inside? Drop a comment below. I want to know your story. Have you felt this trap? Have you tried to escape it? Let's talk about it, because questioning is the first step to freedom. And if this video made something click for you, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications. Here, we're not just consuming, we're thinking, we're challenging, we're waking up. This is just the beginning. See you in the next video. Hoi ChatGPT.